Hi, welcome to my first Instagram Live. I think I'll wait a few minutes till people join me, but this is very exciting. Yay, we got a few joiners. I love this. This is awesome. So, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Lisa Solomon. I started a company called Athenian Collective. Hold on, view a request, go live. Oh, awesome. Let's see if this works. Connecting. Oh my God, I'm so
Hello.
excited. It's working. This is great. Yay. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hi, doing well. How are you?
Awesome. So, I was just going to do a quick little introduction as to what I'm doing and why I'm doing this. And then
Great.
I thought we could get into a nice conversation.
Sounds good.
Well, for those of you who are joining us, I'm Lisa Solomon, and this is my first Instagram Live. Very excited to be doing this. So, I started Athenian Collective to create courses with experts in the fields of marketing, advertising, and media. And really, it's to help empower you with the skills and knowledge you need to improve your careers. We are founded on the principle that knowledge is power, knowledge shared is power multiplied. So we wanted to do these live sessions and bring people together to have conversations and inform you, educate you, inspire you with new information. We want you to walk away having learned something new. And sometimes it can be about marketing, advertising, media, and sometimes it can just be about life. So we're here today to have conversations that help you to power up. And my first guest today is one of the experts who is teaching a course for us. This is Jim Baudino. Jim is an expert in cannabis marketing, which is a fascinating subject all in itself. Um, and I was really excited when Jim agreed over a year ago to come up with a course that is very comprehensive in terms of cannabis marketing. It's an interesting topic. There is so much involved in it. And we want to have a conversation today about cannabis marketing in general, and especially considering right now during COVID-19 is considered an essential business. So I think there's a lot of interesting things going on with it from that point of view. Um, Before we begin, Jim, why don't you tell people a little bit about your background? I think it's really interesting. I love when we talk about people's careers because you start to realize what people started out thinking they were going to do in their life and where they end up is always a fascinating road. And so for people who are new in their careers, I think it's interesting to learn. And I think about all these people who are just graduating from college right now, who are probably thinking, oh my God, what job am I going to get? And what does that mean for the rest of my life? You start to realize your life is going to go in so many different tangents, you have no idea.
Yes. Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. And it's been great working with you over the last, well, we've known each other for several years.
Yeah.
Um, but my background, yeah, I've had quite a varied background. I did an engineering degree. And so in undergrad, so industrial and operations engineering. And I knew I didn't want to do that. And I went and did some consulting for a little bit, management consulting for a couple of years, and then wanted to hit the startup boom. So in 2000, quit my job at Deloitte Consulting, drove out to California to join a startup, ended up in Atlanta. And that's where I got a taste of the startup life and the whole dot-com boom and bust and boom and bust. Um,
Yeah.
but that was quite an experience. And it was something that resonated with me and that what I liked in my work environment and what I like to do. But I always knew I wanted to get my MBA as well. And so that actually gave me the reason to go out to California, applied to UCLA. I was in Atlanta at the time with a startup. And so spent 2 years full-time MBA. And I knew I wanted to go into marketing at a large brand. And so what better company than Toyota, because I wanted to stay in California. I had the auto experience from being in Michigan. I went to University of Michigan. And so I studied uh, international business strategy and marketing at UCLA, and then went to Toyota full time, joined the graduate management associate program, 2 year rotational program, spent 10 years at Toyota doing a variety of marketing and business development roles. Ended up, before I left, running all of the sponsorships and strategic partnerships for Toyota. So all the music festivals, action sports, all the athletes, so 20 some
All the
athletes,
fun
uh,
stuff.
all the fun stuff. And so I got to see all these niche worlds, from bass fishing to the electric car enthusiast, did all the ride and drives across the Toyota lineup. And so that was such an incredible experience. And then I transitioned into cannabis.
Wow. I mean, talking about totally different from autos to cannabis is amazing.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to join Snoop Dogg co-founded a company called Mary Jane Media. I know Snoop's longtime business partner, Ted Chung. And so Toyota was moving to Texas. So that gave me the reason to actually do that. And when I let everyone know at Toyota, I think this is where people getting into the space will realize it's a lot about the education. So when you have to tell your parents what you do and the company you work for and all of your friends and your connections, maybe not so much now, but 5 years ago, it was quite a big shock. And I didn't take the decision lightly, really went in and deep dived in the research to really understand the cannabis industry. And once you start meeting the people that have been impacted from a medical perspective and you understand the history, it really puts things in perspective about how this plant has been demonized. And I had been a user occasionally, but it wasn't something that was fully in my life on a regular basis. But once you start doing the research, you really understand more of the plant and how it can really help. I kind of align it with car drivers. Everyone can drive a car, so everyone can smoke cannabis, but not everyone's a professional race car driver. And so you've got to really understand a lot more of the specifics and the details. And so that's where coming into the space, you really got to understand that and appreciate the plant and the science behind it and how it can help people. And so that was my goal coming in, is to really help the marketing and advertising community, the brands like the Toyotas, because there is a lack of education. It was really, media had done a disservice, since the 30s and Reefer Madness.
Yeah, really.
And so now it's out there in the media much more because there's business opportunities. And so that's helped decrease the stigmas, which is fantastic, I think, from the cannabis industry perspective and full-on legalization. But that's where I felt that was important for me. And, during our meetings for Think LA, I would bring a lot of the cannabis products just to educate the team that may not be aware of what was out there, from the vaporizers, the edibles, all the different formats, but then also the packaging and how beautiful some of the packaging.
God, these brands are amazing. It's really, really impressive. It's interesting. And those people who are joining us who maybe aren't aware of what Think LA is, every city in the United States has a organization dedicated to marketing and advertising. In Los Angeles, it's called Think LA. In San Francisco, it's SF Big. Every city has them. And if you are interested in finding one in your city, we'll put some notes how you could reach us, and we'd be happy to send you, some resources in your area. But that's how we met.
ThinkLA.org.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really interesting. And I don't know, did you see this? I don't want to start spreading rumors, but I thought it was interesting. Did you see that test out of, I think it was Canada? Yes, that it's possible that high CBD sativa may help block COVID-19.
Yes. So the enzymes in cannabis could treat COVID because CBD, it aids in blocking the cells that enter the body from the coronavirus. So, and I know there's a lot more research that has to be done. There are a couple people, there's an ex-professional football player that was saying that cannabis is the solution to everything, and including coronavirus.
Yeah.
And,
but how funny, given the whole, you just went over that whole history of reefer madness and the demonization of a plant, that, as we can see today through CBD and through hemp, just beyond even the THC part of it, the psychedelic part of it, whatever you call it. Anyway, you can see there is so much more to it. And how crazy would it be if it turned out that CBD could help with COVID-19 after all of these years of demonization of a plant?
That would be fantastic. That's the dream.
So speaking of COVID-19, how has it really changed what's happening in the industry for cannabis brands? How is that, changed? Are there hurdles? Are they different than the hurdles before? Because let's face it, this is a regulated industry, so it already had hurdles.
Sure. Well, it didn't come at the best time for the cannabis industry. There was a little bit of a resetting that was going on. There had been so much capital that had come into the market, so many companies going public very quickly, and all their forecasts and market demand was a little bit unrealistic. And so you started seeing the fallout of that over the last 6 months. And so, especially when the market didn't meet expectations from a demand perspective. And so I don't know if everyone caught all the news of people being laid off in the industry and people downsizing, acquisitions happening. And so that started to flatten out as COVID hit. But the thing with COVID, with the essential businesses, cannabis was deemed essential.
Yeah.
And so this was so important for the industry because we spent so much time fighting for the medicinal use of cannabis and for all the patients. And so that was huge at a time when all these businesses were being shut down. So that kind of was a lifeblood for the industry. There were a lot of changes that were made from a process perspective. So improvements that had to be made from delivery, curbside, so things that the individual states, because cannabis is managed on a state level. And so they had to come up with their own processes for delivery, curbside, pickup, and orders pickup. And that was something that they had to rewrite the regulations because you couldn't do that legally.
Right.
And so that was a step in the right direction. And I don't think that's going to go back anytime soon.
So in a way, it helped them pivot forward.
Absolutely.
In things that they needed to do anyway. And this just became a catalyst to make that happen. But what about from a marketing perspective? One of the things I was reading, there was an article in Forbes about it, is that, and I remember, we created this amazing marketing cannabis master course. And as we went out to tell people in the industry about it, it was really obvious that so much of the marketing in that industry is done by in-person events.
Yes.
And that's all gone away. Like, where do you see that going? And what's the future? What's happened to marketing? And then what's the future of marketing when you think about cannabis right now with what we're dealing with all these shutdowns and in-person events?
Sure. So traditional marketing was huge for cannabis. So whether it's out of home, events, magazines, because of the regulations around Facebook and digital advertising and acceptance, that's improved a little bit. And we can get into that a little bit later. But events were huge because there are not many recognizable brands. So if you're a new consumer and you're going in, or you're a tourist and you go into a retail outlet, a lot of times they'll have booths set up where the product specialist to educate. And so that was huge. And then also at events, whether it's conferences or like music festivals or the Cannabis Cup type events, where they would be able to try out or purchase products on site. And so without those, it's much harder.
Yeah,
now you're looking at online. And so brands have to pivot in how they're spending their dollars, their marketing dollars and advertising, and coming up with unique ways, whether it's forming partnerships, whether like Casper Beds partnered with Plus Brands to come out. And obviously sleep is really important with the cannabis consumer. A lot of consumers use it for sleep. And so it's just a match made in heaven. So how do you find those strategic partnerships, not only to build your brand, but align with the correct
audience? Did a brand actually do that with Casper?
Yeah, Plus.
Oh my God, that's so smart. I love it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it was the ex-CMO from Pop Chips moved over to Plus.
Oh, okay. Wow. I love that. I love the stories of people trying to figure out how do you take advantage of sort of the cultural changes that are happening right now, and then create some innovative way to make that make sense, not only for the consumer, but also for the brand. I think that's such a great story. And people, there's no doubt about it. We have to be more inventive today than ever to try and break through the clutter and just to get your brand recognized. And it's really cool because like you were saying about packaging and, I don't know if you've never been into a cannabis dispensary. It's pretty amazing how many brands there are, but how well they are designed and what goes into just the whole brand story and the brand packaging and the design and the, you know, the way they are positioning their products in terms of benefits. I mean, it's like 101 advertising and marketing in some ways. And they really
Yes.
do such a good job at that.
And that's where.
What other cool things are you seeing happening in the world of cannabis right now?
Well, I think overall, just from a political side, this is a huge year. Obviously, with the elections, that's going to be extremely important. Most of the candidates are, I wouldn't say pro-cannabis, but they're open to states regulating cannabis. So currently, cannabis is regulated on a state level. So just overall, cannabis with THC content of 0.3% or higher is illegal, federally illegal. It's Schedule I drug. Hemp, which is cannabis plant with THC level of 0.3% or below, is legal. And so hemp can be grown. I mean, there's still rules and regulations you've got to follow. But then the extraction of CBD, which is a cannabinoid in the plant, can be extracted from both the cannabis plant with THC higher than 0.3 and the hemp plant lower than 0.3. Now, those are managed differently as well. So anything derived from a cannabis plant can be sold, even if it's just the CBD taken from a cannabis plant. That can only be sold in a retail outlet, a cannabis retail outlet, a dispensary. If it's CBD pulled from a hemp plant, then that can be sold almost anywhere depending on state regulations. But now the interesting thing is you cannot put CBD into a consumable. So anywhere where you're seeing CBD in water or edible or anything like that, regardless of where it's from, hemp or cannabis plant, against FDA regulations. So
people who are doing that, because there is, I know a drink that is called Refresh or something. Is that what it's called? It's really good, actually, and it's CBD infused.
There's a lot. So technically, it's against FDA regulations. They're still discussing and how to manage this, because there is currently a CBD drug, Epidiolex, that's out in the market that's FDA approved. And so that's where it gets tricky with FDA needing FDA approval before you go to market. But what they're really cracking down on are false advertisements. And you'll see there's so many cannabis brands and CBD brands that are out there, and people have tested them, and they tested 30 different CBD products, and the amount of CBD in it, most of them aren't even aligned with what it says on the packaging. And so whether it even has it in there at all. And so this is why having legal licensed players is so important. And it's kind of like the vitamin, it's being like the vitamin world. And so how do you know that you're actually getting the medicine that says on the packaging? And so a lot of regulation still has to happen around CBD. But CBD is, I mean, the tip of the iceberg. There's CBG, all these other cannabinoids that will be coming down the line. And I think that's where a lot of hemp farmers, they're looking at that, because hemp can be grown for extraction of cannabinoids or as the industrial product. So the fibers to make the hempcrete, all the tons of use, the biomass for fuel. It's so exciting.
It's amazing how much one plant can do. I have to say that was my number one. There's a lot of takeaways from your course, but when we got into the real details of the plant and the terpenes and all of the different, I had no idea that plant was that complicated. But what's so interesting about that is that the amount of products and the possibilities are endless. So what do you think in terms of, because right now 13 states are federally legal. I mean, are state legal.
Recreational.
Yeah, exactly. So do we, we have November's coming up. How many other states are going to have it on the ballot, and do we see that growing?
Yes, definitely see it growing. I mean, we all hope for federal legalization, but people aren't saying that's going to happen until 3 to 5 years minimum, just because of all now for everything else that's a priority, but just the amount of work that would take to do that. But you're seeing a lot of states that are going to be putting it on the ballots, or at least having the discussions, whether it's New York and a lot of southern states, because they're also seeing, and this is one of the parts with COVID, it's impacting state funds. And so they're seeing the benefits in Colorado and these legalized states, and the amount of revenue you can bring in from the cannabis industry from taxation. It's huge. And so Colorado has already had money. Right, over $1 billion coming in
See,
from
it's
tax
always about the
revenue.
money. All of that thing about
Absolutely.
the plant, it's really about the money.
And if that's incentive to legalize, then that's fantastic. And that's where even Texas looking at going fully legal, not only just medical. Decriminalization absolutely needs to happen across the
Yeah.
board, then medical, and then recreational. Um,
It's
and so,
exciting. I mean, it just
yeah.
really opens up the possibilities, not only for just the products, but for careers. So, what advice would you have to somebody who wanted to get into a career in cannabis?
Woo! It's still the Wild West.
The people are really nice, though. I have to say, I love the people in the cannabis industry. It's very much that pioneering spirit, that let's figure it out together. We're in this together. I love that.
It is a community, especially people that have been in it, been in the trenches for quite some time, really understanding why. You've got to have what is your why. And if that's not strong, then some days you're going to be going, what am I doing? And so making sure if you're going in, go all in. I know a lot of people dabble on the side, and there's other ways you can be involved with the cannabis industry if you just want to have it as a side hustle.
Like
But if
what?
you
What
want
would
to,
you do as a side hustle
so
besides
if
that's
you're
the product?
so if you're working at an agency, you may, if you're a designer, for example, and you want
Okay.
to maybe design for a cannabis brand and kind of contract out your services so you can slowly weave your way in. If you want to start a product, I mean, I wouldn't leave your day job to start a product. And I think that's one of the realizations too. To start a brand, you're going to have to invest millions. I mean, at this point, to get the
Yeah.
visibility, it's not cheap. It's not easy, just with all of the legal hurdles to do that. And I mean, there's so much that can be done. I would take your skill set. First of all, if you wanted to get in the industry, take your skill set. What are you good at? What are you passionate about? And then how can you apply that to a cannabis brand or a company? Now, there are agencies that are doing integrating cannabis into their portfolios of products. There's brands like whether it's the Pepsis of the world that are probably doing their research, their due diligence on cannabis, and so there's a variety of ways you can get integrated in. Even companies that are pro cannabis, like Dr. Bronner's, GT Kombucha, Patagonia, all are support the industry, whether it's hemp or the THC, Ben and Jerry's. And so it just depends on what's your angle and why do you want to get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. But the cool thing is that if you like start today with the kind of things that you were saying, where you start to maybe dabble and see and explore it, the cool thing is the trajectory is going up. So
Yes.
if you start today, you can kind of create those steps so that when it really does take off, you've at least got part of it in your portfolio or you've got it on your resume. And if again, it has to be something that you're interested in. And I do realize, and I want to be sensitive to not everybody is a fan of cannabis, and that's okay as well. But
Right.
for those that do, find that it is, helpful for them, whether it's medicinal or recreational.
Right.
I want to be sensitive to time because we only have 7 minutes left. Isn't that crazy how fast time went by? This was great. I just wanted to kind of move away and talk a little bit about sort of talking through kind of like one thing I like is I love when people walk away and they've learned something new. And I love to learn something new. So I was curious from you, what is something new that you've learned? It could be work or personal or professional in the last week that you think was really worth taking the time to learn.
How to chlorinate a pool.
Oh, that's right. You got a little blow up pool. Is it a blow up pool or it's a
I mean,
medium?
it's a 10-foot, 1,000-gallon pool.
Oh
But it
my
needs
God.
chlorination, and yeah, stuck it in the yard. It's an eyesore, but
Now, do you
you
have
can.
grass underneath it so all the grass will die?
No. It's on concrete.
Oh, that's good.
A
Oh my God.
brick
So
patio.
did you get some floaties? I heard that floaties have been selling out.
Yes, they have been.
Yeah,
Uh, we have some.
that's
But
awesome. And you also learned how to build a
a tree house.
tree
Yes.
house. I think that is
Yes.
so impressive. That's
Uh,
awesome.
but as far as the cannabis side, I think it's seeing how companies are really trying to get around first pivoting because they're not able to do all the advertising and marketing that they do normally do from the events and with the in-person, out of home. And so how are they navigating the online and the SEO and content generation, that aspect of it. And that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm excited just seeing everything happening in the world of politics, and then brand building, and how everything's impacting the cannabis industry. And
Yeah, it
there's one thing:
sounds like it's
the Safe Banking Act. If that passes, that's going to be a game changer. So that's now because right now everything has to be done
yeah.
on a cash transaction. So the Safe Banking Act passes, then that will open up banking and people to fund cannabis businesses. So
Now, is that going to be on a national ballot, or is that going to
that
be on state by state?
no, that it's going to go through the House and Senate. So the House put it through in the last bill last week as part of the relief, coronavirus relief
Oh,
fund,
wow.
or relief bill. Yeah, so that's could be a huge victory for the industry.
That would be amazing, because that is true. I mean, I don't know if people realize that it's a business, especially if you're doing in the advertising marketing. Don't you have to pay everything in cash?
Yes,
That's
yeah.
crazy. Could you
There's yeah,
imagine coming with your big, bag of cash?
yeah. It's a norm.
Yeah, I mean, that's just insane. It really is crazy. That's awesome though. I mean, I'm really excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. I want to thank you for joining us. If people want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Sure. So I'm on all the social platforms at Jim Baudino,
Awesome.
LinkedIn, and then also helping out a company called Fiorello Agency. So they're a full service PR and marketing company, providing help and brand support for cannabis businesses to bring them to market, or support them in their rebranding and packaging design needs. But yeah, I'm
Awesome.
always here. I'm
Yes.
around.
And for
Everyone's stuck at home.
people, and those people who are interested, if you want to learn more about cannabis marketing, in particular, we have an incredible course that we've worked on together. It teaches you everything in terms of everything you know about the plant, but everything you need to know about creating a brand. And then most importantly, marketing a brand. How do you get it out there to get to consumers so that they know about your brand and more importantly, buy it? So we'll have links to all of this as we follow up. I just want to thank those who have joined us. Again, I'm Lisa Solomon, the founder of Athenian Collective, which is an online learning platform specifically for media marketing and advertising. We will be having these conversations every Thursday, and we hope you can join us. In the meantime, it's right before Memorial Day weekend, so I hope everyone has a fabulous long weekend. And remember, knowledge is power. Knowledge shared is power multiplied. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, Jim, today.
Thank you.
All
Appreciate you
right.
having me.
All right.
All
Talk
right.
to you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.